Today we're diving into something that sounds simple but can be life-changing: mindfulness as a tool for anxiety relief.
Yeah, it's fascinating how just being present can help with something as intense as anxiety. Where do we even start?
Let's start with what mindfulness actually means. It's essentially paying attention to the present moment on purpose and without judgment.
Sounds easy, but honestly, in practice, it's a challenge. I mean, our minds love to time travel, worrying about tomorrow or rehashing yesterday.
Exactly, that's part of why mindfulness is powerful. It brings us back from that mental chaos. Especially for people with anxiety, that redirection can be grounding.
The blog mentioned how mindfulness reduces overthinking by anchoring us to the now. That hit home for me.
Totally, and there's actual science behind it. Mindfulness practices can lower cortisol levels, reduce heart rate, and even shrink the amygdala over time.
The amygdala being the fear center of the brain, right? So it literally reshapes how we respond to stress.
Right, it's like emotional strength training. You learn to notice your anxiety, but not get swept away by it.
That's empowering. But let's be real. What does it look like day to day? Sitting cross-legged for hours?
Not necessarily. It could be as short as 5 minutes of focused breathing or doing a body scan before bed. You don't have to be a monk.
I tried mindful dishwashing once. Sounds weird, but it actually helped me slow down. Just feeling the water, the texture of the dishes.
That's a great example. It's less about the activity and more about the quality of attention you bring to it.
So how does mindfulness differ from just distraction? Like watching Netflix to zone out?
Distraction pulls us away from discomfort. Mindfulness invites us to meet it gently. It's facing the storm instead of hiding in the basement.
Whew, that's deep, but also kind of intimidating.
It doesn't have to be. Mindfulness isn't about fixing anxiety instantly. It's about building a different relationship with it.
I like that. Almost like making peace with your inner noise instead of trying to shut it up.
Exactly. The blog emphasized acceptance. When we stop resisting anxiety, it often loses its grip.
But doesn't that feel like giving in?
Not quite. Acceptance isn't approval. It's acknowledging what's here, so you can respond skillfully instead of react impulsively.
So instead of panicking, you say, okay, I see you, anxiety, and then breathe through it?
Yes. You let it visit, but you don't let it redecorate your house.
I love that. But I imagine that takes practice.
For sure. That's why mindfulness is called a practice. Even 5 mindful breaths a day can make a difference over time.
The blog suggested starting with guided meditations. Do you think those help?
Definitely, especially for beginners. Having a calm voice guiding you can make it less overwhelming.
Any particular styles you'd recommend?
Body scans are great. So are loving kindness meditations, which are surprisingly effective for softening self-judgment, something anxiety feeds on.
Yeah, anxiety and self-criticism are like best friends, not the fun kind.
Nope. Mindfulness helps us notice those thoughts without buying into them, like clouds passing in the sky.
That metaphor always gets me. The idea that thoughts aren't facts, they're just weather.
And like weather, they change. If we can wait out the storm, the sun often returns.
What about people who say they're too anxious to sit still? Isn't that a common barrier?
Huge one. But the key is to start where you are. Walking meditation, mindful stretching, even journaling, all count.
So mindfulness doesn't have to be silent and still?
Not at all. It just needs to be intentional and present. You could even eat mindfully, actually taste your food instead of scarfing it down.
That reminds me, mindful eating helped me notice how often I eat from stress, not hunger.
And that awareness creates space for choice. That's the power of mindfulness.
The blog also touched on how mindfulness boosts emotional regulation. That sounds technical. What does it mean?
It means you're less likely to explode or shut down. You notice emotions as signals, not threats.
So instead of reacting with panic or anger, you pause, name what's happening, and respond?
Exactly. That pause is pure gold. It changes everything.
I wish they taught this stuff in school. It feels like life skills 101.
Honestly, I think they're starting to. Some schools now have mindfulness programs, and it's helping kids focus and manage stress.
That's incredible. Imagine growing up knowing how to handle your emotions instead of being blindsided by them.
It's the gift of awareness, and it's never too late to learn it.
One last thing. What about the myth that mindfulness means eliminating thoughts?
Big myth. Mindfulness isn't about stopping thoughts. It's about not getting caught in their drama.
Like watching a train go by instead of hopping on every car.
Perfect analogy. You notice the train, but you don't have to ride it.
So in the end, mindfulness for anxiety isn't about escaping. It's about meeting yourself fully.
And realizing you're bigger than your anxious thoughts. They're part of the picture, not the whole canvas.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I think that's a good place to wrap.
Yeah, if anyone listening feels overwhelmed, just remember, one mindful breath is enough to start.
And maybe ask yourself, what would it feel like to pause right now and just be?
Great question. Let's leave our listeners with that.
Would you like a version of this formatted for recording or sharing?